Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we sift through the sources, pull out the really key insights, and basically give you a shortcut to getting informed. Today, we're looking at something a bit different, a really unique personal story.
Yeah, it's about this man who made a pretty radical choice about 8 years back. He moved lock, stock, and barrel to the Philippines. And, well, the changes that followed were pretty profound.
Absolutely. And our source for this, it's fascinating. It's like his own personal reflection, almost like you said, an audio diary.
Exactly. It's incredibly candid. You really get a sense of his reasons, the struggles, and this personal growth that even he didn't seem to expect. It's quite raw, very honest, a real window into a life turned upside down or maybe right side up.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is, well, it's pretty clear. We want to unpack why someone makes such a huge move, understand the big changes Paul, that's the guy we're talking about, went through, and maybe most importantly, see what lessons, what takeaways you might find in his journey for your own life, your own changes.
Okay, so let's dive in. Paul, he's just hit this 8-year mark, living consecutively in the Philippines.
Yeah, 8 years straight. That's not a long holiday. That's
Yeah.
that's building a life somewhere else entirely.
And he kicks things off with a really, really important point, a disclaimer almost. He says, look, the Philippines, it's a developing country. He's super clear about that.
Okay.
It's not paradise, not nirvana, not perfect. It has challenges.
Right. He doesn't sugarcoat it.
Not at all. He says flat out, it's not for everyone.
That's crucial context right up front. Did he mention what kinds of things might make it not right for someone? Specifics?
He didn't list everything, but yeah, he touched on practical stuff like maybe the food isn't for you or the humidity, the heat, things like that. But his bigger point is about, personal fit. He actually respects people who come kick the tires, as he says.
Let's take it for a test drive.
Exactly. Take the Philippines for a test drive and then decide, nope, not for me. Even if it's those simple things. He thinks there's real value in just having the guts to try, to eliminate that doubt. So you don't spend your life wondering, what if?
That makes total sense. Okay, so that sets the scene. He wasn't looking for paradise, just something different. So what was he leaving behind? What was that before picture?
Right, the motivations. Well, his number one driver, he says, was finding somewhere economically viable.
Okay, money.
Yeah, but tied to a feeling. He felt completely burnt out. He used that classic phrase, the hamster wheel, or Groundhog Day.
Oh, yeah, that feeling of being stuck.
Totally. Just working constantly, grinding away to come home and, his words, pay for a bunch of crap that I don't need. Just an exhausting cycle.
And it wasn't just work, was it? He mentioned personal stuff, too.
That's right. He talked about being in a combative type of marriage for 9 years. But he was careful to say, this isn't ex-wife bashing. They actually ended up having a very amicable divorce.
Amicable, after calling it combative.
Apparently so. They even handled it themselves. No lawyers involved after raising 3 kids. So there's some complexity there.
And then what happened? Post-divorce.
Well, that period led to a big realization for him. After the kids were grown and he was on his own, he found he actually liked being alone.
Really?
Yeah. He lives by himself for like 8 or 9 years and said it really empowered him. He didn't need anyone's permission or validation. He was good just being with himself. Make himself laugh, reading, watching TV, content.
That's quite a bit of self-discovery there, finding contentment in solitude.
Definitely. And then comes the turning point. He hits 62.
Okay.
And the strong desire for financial freedom kicks in. He had this kind of epiphany. It's not how much you make, it's how much you owe.
Ah, the debt focus.
Exactly. He really zeroed in on debt.
So what did he do about it before the move?
This is where it gets pretty extreme. He took some major steps before he even got on the plane. Cleared all his credit cards. Completely.
Yeah.
Zero balance. Sold his car. Sold his condo, and he'd already downsized from a house to that condo earlier.
He was really shedding things.
Totally. He said he gave away basically everything he owned, except some clothes, a computer, a phone. Landed in the Philippines with just some cash. That's it. The total reset.
Talk about radical simplification. Seriously, it makes you question how much stuff we really need,
It really does. Liberating maybe, but probably terrifying for most people.
For sure. Okay, so he arrives, minimal possessions, minimal debt. How did things work out financially right at the start in the Philippines?
Well, this is one of the most fascinating parts. He found himself, quote, making the smallest amount of money since he was literally a kid, like working minimum wage.
Making less than ever before as an adult.
Right. But, and this is the kicker, he was simultaneously living better than when he was back home, plugging away 10, 12, 13, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Wow. So less income, but better quality of life. How did that math work?
Well, his needs became incredibly simple. He just needed, as he put it, shelter from the storm. Basically, a safe, clean apartment.
Okay.
And transportation, which for him was just a scooter.
Super lean living then.
Incredibly lean, which meant his overhead was tiny, no credit cards, right? No car
Nothing.
payment.
Just the basics.
Yeah. Rent and food are the main things.
Oh.
And his little Social Security check, as he called it, covered all of it. Rent, AC, gas for the scooter, phone, food.
And he could still save.
Yeah, he actually managed to save a couple $300 a month, even on that small income.
That's amazing. So the financial stress just evaporated.
Pretty much. He talked about the end of financial insecurity. Knowing that Social Security check was coming every month and it was always more than his budget, that peace of mind was huge for him.
You can imagine. After feeling trapped on that hamster wheel, that kind of predictability must have felt incredible.
Absolutely liberating.
Okay, the financial side is clear. Big changes, big relief. But what about the deeper stuff, the personal changes beyond just money? Did the move change him?
Oh, definitely. And this is where, like you said, it gets really interesting. Some truly unexpected transformations.
Like what?
Well, for starters, his health. Physical health.
Hmm.
He arrived taking, I think he said, 4 or 5 different medications.
For what?
Things like anxiety, pain, blood pressure. Standard stuff for a lot of stressed out people, maybe.
And now?
Now, he takes no medication. 0. Except for, like, an occasional pain reliever and naloxone, which he says is like Tylenol.
Seriously, from 4 or 5 meds down to basically nothing.
Yeah. And his blood pressure. Perfect, he says.
Wow.
About
That's huge. That speaks volumes about the stress reduction, doesn't it?
It really does. It's like the physical manifestation of the mental shift.
And speaking of mental shifts,
Yeah.
he talked about that too, right? Letting go of the past.
Oh, yeah. A lot. He said he came over carrying a lot of stress, a lot of bad memories, and a lot of anxiety. He uses this metaphor of shedding another layer of skin each year he's there.
Shedding skin.
Yeah. Those bad memories just slowly but surely just being shed off and evaporated, falling further and further and further into the past.
That sounds incredibly healing.
It does. He says now he's really focused on the now because, he's 70.
Hmm?
And he realizes time is very, very precious. No time to waste dwelling on the past.
Makes sense. Any other big personal shifts? You mentioned relationships earlier.
Right. This is maybe the biggest surprise, even to him. He was, and he emphasized this, absolutely positively convinced he would never get into another relationship. Ever.
Especially after the combative marriage, maybe.
You'd think so. He swore off the female species, as he put it rather dramatically.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, about 3 years into living there,
Mhm.
he met someone, his now wife.
No kidding. After being so certain.
Yep, they lived together for 5 years, and they've been married now for 2.
Wow. Life throws curveballs. Did he talk about that relationship? What made this one different?
He did, and this part's a bit, let's say, candid and maybe controversial for some listeners.
Yeah. Okay, let's hear it, but we're just reporting his perspective.
Exactly. This is purely his observation.
Hmm.
He contrasted what he saw as differences, saying American women tend to be feminist and Filipino women are feminine.
Okay. How did he describe that difference?
He characterized Filipino women as generally much less combative, much less competitive, and, well, much more feminine. You mentioned them being non-confrontational, maybe more focused on beauty and hair and makeup than, winning an argument.
That's a generalization, obviously, but it's his take.
It's definitely his take. And he did add the caveat that it's not all perfect. They still have spats, disagreements. But he felt they weren't the deal breakers they might have been in the past.
Got it. So it's his personal experience shaping his view there.
Absolutely. And zooming out, this all ties into his overall sense of personal growth. He talks about finally getting rid of the demons of the past.
Forgiving and being forgiven.
Yes. That seemed really important. Recognizing that whatever happened before, whoever was right or wrong, it's just meaningless now.
Yeah.
Water under the bridge.
That's a powerful place to get to. So he finds this new life, new health, new relationship. How does he tie it all together? Is there a bigger picture for him?
There is. He uses this really potent analogy near the end.
Oh, yeah.
He connects his own journey to the Philippines itself.
Yeah.
Just like the Philippines is a developing country, he sees himself as a developing person.
Ah, interesting. A developing person in a developing country.
Exactly. He's
Right.
explicit. No longer on that hamster wheel, No longer stuck in Groundhog Day. And this part's key. No longer idling in neutral.
So constant progress.
That's the feeling. He feels like he's constantly moving forward, constantly progressing, improving, learning, and even contributing in his new life. He's not stuck anymore,
That's a great metaphor for personal growth, moving out of neutral.
isn't it? And he actually extends that idea as a hope for you, the listener.
What does he hope for us?
He hopes that, wherever you may land or wherever you may go, that you also find that chance to discover yourself, to maybe realize you're not the bad guy that you thought you were, that fundamentally you're okay.
And it's okay not to be okay sometimes?
Yes, he says that too. It's okay not to be okay. But then he adds, still don't dwell on it. Instead, try to develop as a person right alongside whatever community or, country you find yourself in, especially if it's also growing and changing.
That's quite profound. Develop along with your environment. Don't just exist in it.
Precisely.
Okay, wow. So recapping Paul's story, it's this incredible arc, isn't it? From feeling burnt out, trapped, disillusioned.
Yeah, to finding financial stability, drastically improved health, unexpected love, and this deep sense of ongoing personal development,
Yeah.
all triggered by this radical move.
It really shows the power of making a deliberate, maybe even drastic change when something isn't working.
It absolutely does. And maybe the provocative thought to leave everyone with is this. Paul's story isn't just about moving country. It's about intentional shedding. He shed debt, possessions, medications, old anxieties, past grievances. It forces you to ask, what demons of the past, or maybe just what baggage,
Yeah.
are you carrying?
What parts of your life might be idling in neutral?
Exactly. Maybe the most important development isn't about changing location, but about changing your internal landscape. What layer, like Paul's shedding skin, are you ready to let go of?
And how might shedding that layer propel your own personal development forward?
That's the question.
A really compelling question to ponder. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Paul's journey. We hope it gave you some valuable food for thought.